is the meaning of life, they're all going to give different answers. There will be patterns and similarities. You can break them down into categories, like some people talk about happiness, some people talk about family. But the reasons that they're saying that are coming from themselves. They're coming from their own individual patterns. Any of the people asked might well respond to any of the others by saying, yeah, you're absolutely right. No, that's what's meaningful about life. We want our own stories to be told. We want to be able to close the book and say, right, okay, that was me.
I think meaning of life is about happiness. It's about achieving happiness.
Trying to enjoy life as it comes.
Be happy, eat well, sleep well, be happy.
Just be happy, you know?
So one of sort of the immediate responses people often give to what's the meaning of life is it's about pleasure, it's about happiness. So what do people mean when they say that? And I think people do mean something when they say it. I think what they're talking about is what the Greeks called Ataraxia, which is a kind of happiness which means that life is right. So I would say Ataraxia, that feeling of rightness, is something like sitting in those calm moments and saying, yeah, I'm where I need to be.
Kids, that's it. Yeah. That's all my life's about now. Yeah, it's a good thing.
My family, they're the biggest thing in my life. So to just hopefully make sure they're stable in life as much as I'm stable too.
Mine's just for my family, really. My daughter, who's autistic, so she takes a lot of my time.
My children. That's the main thing, just my children.
So partly what people are talking about when they say that the meaning of the life is their family, I think is they're referring to what they spend their time doing. I think a couple of people mentioned that if it takes up their time, one guy said, oh, it's my kids because all of my time is spent dealing with my kids now. I think partly that's a little bit cynical. I think it's to take the edge off it. I think there's a deeper meaning that they're finding in their family. But there is also, the superficial point isn't to be overlooked. I think the fact that we spend our time doing it, I think is what gives our life meaning. I think we will attach meaning to the things that we take up in our time.
So I think in Genesis 1:26, that's I found my meaning in Genesis 1:26.
To serve and to know the Lord.
I look to the second coming and Jesus Christ.
Okay. So religion is for many people meaningful because it transcends all other things. Isaac Asimov talked a little bit about this. He says, why do people not look for meaning in science? Two reasons. One, because it's largely just facts and it largely changes from time to time. But the other thing is religion gives certainty, gives absolute certainty. If you want absolute certainty, go to a priest, don't go to a scientist. A scientist will say all of the available evidence shows. A priest will say it's absolutely the case that.
We simply cannot answer the reason for anything. And so the meaning of life, I think, is utterly unknowable.
I'm not sure if meaning is just something we're projecting. There may not be meaning, actually, to it. We just are.
We're born, we live, we die. During that period, we are here for a purpose. What it is, we don't know.
I'm kind of an odd person to ask because, to be honest, I don't even think there is a meaning to it. We're just here, really.
So if someone says, life has no meaning, they generally say it with quite a lot of enthusiasm. Interestingly, philosophers do notice this sometimes. They don't just take words completely out of context. They will look at things and say, things said with feeling usually express a feeling. And what's the feeling being expressed by, the world has no meaning? It's, I know that. I have the understanding that no one else seems to have. I have tricked all these people who think there's a meaning to life because I get that there isn't one. And that's what gives my life meaning. Each moment now has just as if it was repeated an infinite number of times, has eternal significance. Every moment, this moment, now, has eternal significance. And that is what seeing life as meaningful can be from a nihilistic point of view.
Meaning, it changes. It's constantly changing. Yeah.
I think our meanings in life change as we grow and evolve and with situations that we face in life.
I think meaning changes. I think it changes in the context you're in and the relationships you're in. So I think you can sometimes feel you've cracked it, and whether it's the love of your family, whether it's friendship, whether it's meaningful work or doing something good in the world, but then events can happen, knock you sideways and challenge the meaning of life. So I don't think it's ever fixed.
We're getting to the point, like Nietzsche pointed out, and like Camus pointed out, and all the other philosophers have pointed out, that we've got to make it up for ourselves. And that we've always been in that state.
Yeah.
We just tricked ourselves. We thought we'd nailed it. We thought we'd got it right, and everything we'd cracked it with facts. And we said, right, we've established the facts. We now know what the meaning of the world is. And now we're realizing that was never the case. We were deluding ourselves into thinking that was the case. But the question is, when you have that kind of sea change, when you realize, when you're a born-again Christian, for instance, and you look back on your former life, was the former life a delusion? Is this a delusion? Do they both have the same status? And that's the really troubling thought. So I think part of the puzzle is wrapped up in the question. You know, we say, what is the meaning of life? And I think that's slightly misleading, because we think of the meaning as being there's just one meaning of life, and that therefore all the people are wrong when they say, oh, the meaning of life is family or it's happiness, etc. It'd be like asking, what's the road I should take? Where do you want to go? There is no the correct road. It's the correct road if you want to get to a certain place. And therefore it's not entirely up to you, right? If your meaning is to be found in something, then you probably have to follow a certain path. But those paths are all divergent, and there are lots of different ones to take.